Cosmic Designs is an original program created by National Philharmonic and the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. NatPhil will perform music by Holst and Debussy that evokes the natural world and beyond. NASA's planetary geologists will share scientific insights, and you'll see some striking images of the Earth and our solar system projected on stage. The first work on the program is Debussy's La Mer. While he was writing La Mer, Debussy wrote to a friend, "You are perhaps unaware that I was intended for the noble career of a sailor and have only deviated from that path thanks to the quirk of fate." Debussy's father was a sailor and fully intended for his son to go into the family business until Debussy Sr. was arrested on charges of insurrection. This was a pretty big disruption to family life, and that, combined with a series of chance encounters, led the young Debussy to meet Antoinette Mottet. She was an accomplished pianist, and she helped Debussy prepare for his entrance exams to the Paris Conservatoire, where he was admitted at age 11. That quirk of fate, as Debussy called it, led him to a world that could not have been more different from life on the sea. "But," he said, "I have innumerable memories, and those, in my view, are worth more than a reality which, charming as it may be, tends to weigh too heavily on the imagination." It was La Mer that first pushed Debussy onto the Conductor's podium. It's an incredibly difficult work to play, and in one of the early performances, the orchestra was having so much trouble that they asked Debussy to step in as conductor at the last minute. This led to more requests for him to conduct his own work, which would have been great if he didn't hate conducting. He said, "When I have to conduct, I am sick before, during, and after." But he was broke, he needed the fee, so he powered through his anxiety-induced nausea to conduct performances of La Mer in London, Rome, Moscow, and St. Petersburg. La Mer is subtitled 3 Symphonic Sketches. Not pictures, not portraits, but sketches. They capture just the outline, just the essence of the subject. So we know from the title page that this music is going to have an ephemeral quality to it. The first movement is called From Dawn Until Noon on the Sea. The second movement is Game of Waves, and the third movement is dialogue between the sea and the wind. So the subjects that Debussy is trying to capture are constantly in motion, and he responds with music that is beautiful and flexible and shimmering. A critic wrote in 1907, "The sketches are more than a remarkable tour de force. They are something more than essays in a strange language. It would be impossible to give any analysis of any movement, for they are as shifting and capricious as the sea itself." Shifting and capricious, a perfect summary of La Mer. You're going to love it. The second piece on the program is The Planets by Gustav Holst. Now, it's easy to think of Holst as just a mild-mannered British music teacher who taught at St. Paul's School for Girls. He was affiliated with St. Paul's for his entire career, and aside from The Planets, one of his most beloved pieces is the St. Paul's Suite, which he wrote for the girls' string orchestra. In addition to being delightful music, it is also brilliant pedagogy. Each movement contains different musical concepts so that the girls could practice a variety of techniques. And for whatever reason, we tend to make our favorite teachers a little one-dimensional. So it's also easy to forget that Holst had a deep curiosity about the world around him and even the cosmos. He had an intense interest in Indian religion, philosophy, and literature. So much so that when he was 25 years old, he went to the reading room of the British Museum and requested a number of volumes of ancient Indian poetry and epic myths, only to discover, when the librarian came back with this huge stack of books, that they were all written in the original Sanskrit. He slinked out of the room, he said, feeling like a bigger fool than he had ever felt in his life. So the obvious solution was to learn Sanskrit, which he did. Through a number of years and many mail-order courses, he became fluent enough in Sanskrit to translate quite a bit of Indian poetry, which he then set to music. In a vacation to Majorca in 1913, he was introduced to astrology, and he was hooked. He attacked it with the same kind of intellectual enthusiasm. He said, "As a rule, I only study things which suggest music to me. Recently, I became acquainted with astrology, and the character of each planet suggested lots to me." The influence of astrology on the planets is obvious. Each movement is supposed to capture the different astrological character of each planet. So Mars is the bringer of war, Venus is the bringer of peace, Jupiter is the bringer of jollity, and so on. But there's also a clear influence from Holst's study of Indian music. The piece is filled with non-Western scales and harmonies and rhythms. The dramatic opening of Mars, for example, is written in groups of 5 beats, which is a common rhythmic pattern in Indian classical music. And movements like Saturn and Neptune are decidedly non-linear. You can lose your sense of time while you listen to them, which is not unlike listening to a long Indian raga. And where did Holst write this piece of global influence and cosmic proportions? In his music room at St. Paul's. So the moral of the story is, never underestimate what a teacher can do on their lunch break. The Planets is the perfect music to explore the universe with NatPhil and NASA as your guide. Enjoy.